Hi, everyone, and welcome to this snippet. Today, I want to be speaking with you how you can prime your brain for success and how you can set yourself up for success in your business and in your life. So, it doesn't matter what your business is, it doesn't matter what your life looks like. If you apply these three principles, these three action steps, these three ways of thinking into your life, you will 100% benefit. You will see a positive shift. Your life will change for the better. And it's three very simple shifts that you can implement in your life immediately, and that will have pretty much immediate positive effect. And the longer you can continue to apply these principles, the more positive ripple effects it will have. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. Number one is to swap the worst case scenarios in your head out with the best case scenarios. So I want to give you a little bit of background around this way of thinking and avoid you overly judging yourself and judging how you may have been thinking and how your thinking process operates, because we are always in a evolutionary process. So just a little bit of background to this. The mind and the brain has been and still is to some degree negatively biased. Why? Because we've had to evolve and survive through a lot of very harsh times, very difficult times where death was always around the corner, famine came, war, all of these things. So the mind and the brain has been primed to think of the worst case scenarios first as a default before the best case scenarios in order to survive. That's a mechanism. It's a thinking mechanism. It's a neurological pathway that just fires off automatically in order to keep you safe. Because if you are always thinking of the worst case scenarios, the reason you're doing that is so that you can prepare yourself the best for the worst case scenarios so that you can survive. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. However, when the mind comes up with all of these worst case scenarios, sometimes step number 2 doesn't happen, the preparation for the worst case scenarios, and it's just a bunch of negative thinking. And a bunch of negative thinking will lead to a bunch of negative feeling. A bunch of negative feeling will lead to depression. Depression leads to inaction, and then you're in a very horrible place. So that's where it creates a downward spiral, and it's not beneficial because it doesn't set you up for success. So it's an old, evolved mechanism that served humanity for a while, whilst we had to fight and survive. But we are going through a process now where obviously a lot of our mind created worst case scenarios never really happen. I was speaking to people who live in modern societies, a modern Western world. There's not really all that much danger around. And we have access to so many tools and technologies right now that if you do end up in a situation that is challenging, there's a plethora of resources to get you out of a challenging situation. Doesn't mean that it's always easy, but it's 100% possible. So that is why we need to begin to actively turn off this worst case scenario thinking. And the more you do that, the more you are shifting and helping your own ascension process, in your evolutionary process, in your own genetics, in your own human makeup, in your mind. And that will speed up the process for you to become more positively orientated, to create more upward spirals, and to have better results in your life. So how do we swap over to there? I had to give you that background first. So you, by simply hearing this, you may notice when, in your daily thinking and the thought process that you have during the day, that if something happens, you're like, oh, worst case scenario, you just make it up in your mind. And if it seems and feels so real, this reality that you created in your mind of all of the horrible things that are going to happen, when in reality, they don't even really exist because there is only the now. And that's the moment you have to catch yourself. The second your brain blurts out this negative scenario, you go cancel. You just cancel that immediately with force, with determination. Not like, oh, okay, I'll cancel that, but it's probably going to happen anyways. And I'll try to believe that maybe something better. No, you refuse to buy into that mind created negative reality. Absolute refusal. Just cancel, gone with conviction. Then you come up with, okay, what is the best case scenario? And best case scenario is not delusional thinking. Best case scenario is not, oh, Superman is going to come fly in and save me and I don't have to worry about anything. So this is where a lot of people, when they go into positive thinking, they go a little too far and they go outside of the window of possibility and probability. So when you go into a solution-oriented thinking, it's crucial that the positively oriented realities that you're future pacing and creating for yourself are within the window of possibility and probability. So what does that mean? So for example, if let's say you got fired from your job and you won't have income the next couple of months and you're in a bit of a pickle and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Worst case scenario was to go, oh, I don't know how to feed my family. Oh, I might end up on the streets. Oh, da 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 da. Cancel that. And then you go to best case scenario. Positively oriented thinking here cannot be, I just wish and hope for that maybe someone in my family dies and I'll inherit some money. Or that out of nowhere I'll win a lottery ticket, even though I never buy a lottery ticket. Then that's just wishful thinking. Within the window of probability could be, and I'm not to decide for you, this is where you can use your imagination and also remember that anything is still possible. So when I say within the window of probability and possibility, do not limit yourself. Stay open to an infinite array of possibilities and surprises and unexpected, support and help and new realities that can come for you. Keep yourself open. But to reassure your mind and to set your brain up for success and to avoid going into depression and to stay in an elevated state and to stay in a receptive state of positive probabilities and possibilities and experiences so that you can receive them, stay open to unexpected positive events that are out of your control. Say, okay, universe, you surprise me. However, it is your responsibility as the creator of your reality to take action in your reality. So what are possible actions that you can take in your reality in order to create the best case scenario? So, okay, best case scenario, I lost my job. Well, how's that serve me? Probably a better job for me out there. Let me go look at what jobs are available for me. This is, always take yourself out of victimhood. When you're a victim, life happens to you. When you're a victor, life happens for you. So how is this happening for me? Best case scenario, then it also is important to tap into your heart. I always encourage to tap into your heart because it's through your heart you're connected to your higher self, and then ask yourself, even if you're feeling down and depressed or something bad's happened, what's my highest excitement here? What would fulfill me the most? What would give me the most joy, pleasure, and happiness right now? What kind of realities that I want to create for myself? How is this happening for me? So you could, call around to some friends. You can look for some other jobs. You can see if you could also, maybe the universe is like, take a few days off, chill, rest, stop. You're burning yourself out. This is an opportunity for you to rest and recharge. Get creative. So again, this is not where I usually I do not put in too many points of information for your possible realities. That's for you to create. But just remember that when you think of the best case scenarios, think of two things. Number one, excitement. What would be fulfilling and uplifting for you to do and to create? Number two is see and view the situation as happening for you. That anything that feels and seems like a challenge or that life and God is punishing you, reverse it around and see that it's this anything, any contraction, any challenge in your life is for your benefit. So how can this be for a benefit? How can I go from victimhood to victor? How can I create, a victorious solution here? That will bring your energy and your frequency out from a lowered state into a higher state. And then it'll be easier for you to create that reality for yourself. Also remember that for every problem, there is a solution. So in the quantum world, reality A, B, C, D, E, S all exists and infinity all exist at once. So David R. Hawkins also explains this very nicely, and I'll do my very best to paraphrase. From a linear time perspective, people think of cause and effect, that cause is number one, effect is number two. Actually, cause and effect both coexist at the same time, and cause and effect is kind of similar and analogous to when there's a problem, there's a solution. So whenever there is a problem, a perceived problem in reality created by you, because you create your reality, and that's the most empowering view to have when you're going through it, is that whenever there's a problem, there's always a solution, because no problem can exist without a solution. Fact. Because of cause and effect, and because of how reality works. So you don't have to know why, how, anything like that. Just know that whenever there's a problem, there is also a solution. Why am I emphasizing that? Because a tendency, again, that the mind has, and that humans still, we all entertain, that we are evolving out of, is that we hyper focus on the problem. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I feel depressed, I'm down, there's no way out. Everything's going to go to hell, doomsday. This is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. And it's important to look at the problem and not avoid it, not shove it under the carpet. For example, if you have lots of bills piling up that you're never paying, just ignoring them is not going to help you. So first of all, you can acknowledge the problem, but that doesn't mean that you have to simmer on the problem forever. Spend the least amount of, well, I wouldn't say the least amount, but spend just the amount of time that you need to acknowledge the problem and to realize what the problem is. No more than that. In a very neutral way with very little emotion. Avoid to have any emotional attachment to the problem. Have you lost some crypto? Okay, the numbers have gone down. Now what do we do? Have you, again, got fired from your job? Okay, I lost my job. Now I don't have money. Now what do I do? Move yourself to the solution as fast as you can, because the solution is always there. So the sooner you move, after fully acknowledging what the problem is and understanding how that is happening for you, so do acknowledge what the problem is, then you move over to, what can I do? What is the solution? Here you can have lots of fun, brainstorm, there can be an infinite potentials of solutions here. So you can make a list of 10 solutions. Brainstorm, come out with a minimum of 10, as many solutions as you possibly can. This can be a solution, that can be a solution, that can be a solution. Reach out to a friend, start my own business, if that's what you want to do, if you lost your job. Start to play music, start to, again, connect to your heart, see what your highest excitement is, make that list of solutions, and write down 10 solutions to the problem. This, again, will shift your brain over to a positively oriented state, because when the brain perceives possible solutions, we get dopamine and we get excitement and we get a drive moving forward. So if you're in a depressed state, that will move you from depression. When we're in depression, we don't have energy to take action. But when we perceive a solution, dopamine fires off and you get adrenaline and you wish to move towards that reality. You wish to take action towards that, because there's a perceived possibility of betterness, of greatness, of surviving, of thriving. So it's the same when it's a little bit like hunter-gatherer, again, genetics playing out, because when for example, if you're in the desert and there's no food around, and it doesn't seem like you're ever gonna get any food anywhere, you start to just walk really slowly, and you're like, I'm lost and nothing's gonna happen and I won't find any food and I'm probably just gonna die. And then you look over and suddenly you see a cactus and some water and some animals or something. Then you just be like, oh my God, you get this rush of energy and you would move towards that. Where does all that energy come from? Suddenly, out of nowhere, It's because there's a perceived, there's a perceived way out. So there's a perception of a solution. There's a perception of surviving. There's a perception of betterness. So when you shift from focusing on the problem to focusing on the solution, you will have all the neurochemical support behind it. You will get the motivation and you will get the drive to take the actions that are required to take in order to get to the solution. So you will have your physiological backup. It will support you in your action taking. Because what happens a lot of times when we take action without the perceived solution is we take action from a state of, it's not going to work out for me anyways. the energy that you put out there is just like, it's all going to flop and fail. And that's what you're going to create for yourself then. But when you see the perceived solution and you see that that's a reality for you, you will take action from an elevated, from an empowered state, and that's going to collapse that solution into your third dimensional experience much faster. So that's number 2. That will take you from some also out of victimhood into being the victor, victoress. So that will help. And number 3 is apply the minimum effective dose, or the 80-20 rule. So when you have looked at the solutions and what those realities look like to you, then it's time to take action. Then apply the minimum effective dose, or the 80-20 rule. So what is that? That is the least amount of effort that you can put in with the greatest amount of results. So a lot of times when we see solutions or we want to move towards a certain reality, we often find ourselves sort of dibbling, dabbling, and maybe postponing and putting a lot of energy into something that doesn't really have a lot of output. So if you really want to maximize your actions and your efficiency and move towards that solution the fastest possible with the greatest amounts of results, then do the action steps, do the 20% that will give you the 80. So analyze it from all these solutions, what action steps are underneath these solutions and which action step will give you the greatest yield. So for example, if you're having issues in your marriage or in your relationship, spending all of your time gossiping and complaining to your friends, even though that's can be helpful in your emotional processing if you're needing to emotionally process, but just spending time focusing on the problem and whining about it isn't really going to move you towards the solution. What will move you towards the solution would be to read relationship books together or go to relationship therapy. That would be, give you a greater yield from your time and from your energy. Or if you need to make more money, then also complaining about not having any money or watching TV all day is not going to get you closer to the results. So if you need to make money, which action steps will give you have the highest probability of return in monetary terms? Analyze which of these actions have the highest likelihood of giving me a return. And it doesn't necessarily have to be immediate, but if you do need it immediately, then which of those will give you the highest return immediately? But remember to always also think long term as well, because you don't want to get stuck in this loop of, getting small amounts of money fast, but then being stuck in the action steps that will give you small amounts of money fast. You also want to set yourself up for long-term success. So if you need it immediately, which action steps will give me money fast? And step number 2, considering long-term, which action steps will give me the most yield in monetary terms long-term? So you can set yourself up for success long-term. So apply the minimum effective dose of the 80-20 rule there. And what that does to your brain and what that does to your sense of self is incredible, because consciousness likes to be energy conservative. It likes to conserve energy. It doesn't like to waste lots of energy. So if you are doing a lot of action steps that are just burning you out and does not have a great yield, that it has the highest likelihood of putting you down into a downward spiral, and then you'll get burnt out, and then you will lose hope, and then you will think, oh, I've done all of these things, there's no results, I might as well just give up and die, But if you're applying the least amount of effort and getting the greatest results, that will fire off all the reward systems in your brain. Your sense of confidence will go up, your sense of safety will go up, your sense of self-trust will go up. Your feeling of being able to rely on yourself and your own actions, will go up, and you create this upward spiral and the sense of like, wow, I can do anything. So apply the minimum effective dose. So those were my 3 tips for today. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Helps me to make more videos, and I will see you in the next video.